This is The Civil Fleet, the podcast focused on the activist-led refugee rescue and support missions across Fortress Europe. With me, Ben Coles. I'm in Bosnia, in a place called Bihać, which is right near the border with Croatia. Currently, I'm just wandering around the old town. It's quite a nice, old medieval monastery and a fortress town. I think it was a fortress town in like 1200 AD, and it was invaded by the Ottomans and I think Bosnia and all of the former Yugoslavia, which is now several different countries. It's all part of the Ottoman Empire. Anyway, I don't know anything about that. That's not really the reason I'm here. I've come to Bosnia because, well, I've always been interested in this country. When I was a kid, this place was at war and it was on the news all the time. And I think watching reports about that when I was a kid is what got me to want to be a journalist. So that's one reason. But the other reason I'm here is because I'm with a group called No Name Kitchen, who've been on the podcast several times. And what they do is they're based in several places across Europe, mostly in the Balkan route, actually. And they help people on the move. Refugees and migrants, asylum seekers, call them whatever you like. No Name Kitchen likes to call them let's call them people on the moves, or they refer to them as POMs, which is quite a funny term. That's what Australian people often call English people. Anyway, so yeah, I'm with them, taking a look at this, taking a look at how they operate and how they help and support people on the move. This town, Bihać, I've not seen very much of it, to be honest. There are bullet holes from the war in the 90s in some of the buildings. The place is quite a small town. It has a bit of a rundown feel, but I don't know, maybe that's unfair. I haven't really seen much of it. We have seen, as I've been out and about with the activists here, as I've been out and about with them, I've seen a lot of people on the move, just wandering around town, some people in various states of destitution. Yeah, it's not a good situation, and what we're going to find out in this episode, what No Name Kitchen are doing here, how they're helping people, what the situation's like for people on the move, and how the Bosnian authorities and the Croatian authorities are treating these people. Anyway, we're going to be spending the next few days, we're going to have some interviews in this episode with various people who are here in Bihać with No Name Kitchen. We're going to hopefully speak to some people on the move about their situation and what's happened to them and how they're being treated. It's going to be a really interesting episode, totally different to anything I've ever done before. So see how this turns out, and I hope you like it. Right, let's get on with the show. All right.
Okay, cool. Hello, Ben.
Are you ready, Joe?
Yes, I'm ready.
Joe was the comms person for No Name Kitchen's team in Bosnia, and as the comms person, their role was to deal with journalists like me. Joe, thank you very much for coming on the Civil Fleet podcast. Thanks for hosting me in Bosnia. So yes, why don't we start, Joe? I know you are the comms focal point. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about yourself?
So I first kind of started working with activists, a long time ago in London, but more physically and actively last year at Sea-Watch. I went and worked on the shipyard for 7 weeks last year, and I come from like an artist background. I studied fashion for 4 years in London and then 2 years of sculpture. And in between those two courses, I worked for Deliveroo, and when I was working for Deliveroo, I got involved with the IWGB and was on the picket line and went to the courtroom as well, fighting against Deliveroo to try and get better worker rights. But then I did my sculpture degree and finished the degree, and COVID happened and all this stuff, and I was working for an amazing furniture designer, but the chairs were like £9,000 a chair.
Wow.
And I was just like, I can't do this anymore. Like, it feels really, it's kind of against my beliefs in a way. And I decided I wanted to quit. I went to the pub in London, and my friend told me that he'd just been in Flensburg working on the Sea-Watch shipyard. And I was like, I want to do that. And I mean, Sea-Watch is a really big organisation, so they pay for your flights, they pay for your food, and you can live on the ship. And if there's no room on the ship, they'll pay for accommodation. Oh yeah, I did my basic safety so I can work on ships in England, in New Haven.
What year did all this happen?
Yeah, last year.
Last year.
So yeah, then I did my basic safety. I was supposed to fly back to Flensburg on the Monday, finish my basic safety on the Friday, and then I had this bike accident. So I messed up my knee, and I had to be at home for like 3 months recovering. And during that time, I was talking to my friend who was still on the boat, Killy, and I was like, "Oh, we need to find another project to do after Sea-Watch." And I'd heard about NNK through a friend who'd worked with different refugee organisations. So my friend told me about NNK, and I learned about Collective Aid as well, which is Encompass. There are other organisations that work in Bosnia, but NNK I felt most fitted my political values. So I wanted to do the health focal point, because I worked in hospitals before as well.
Hi, sorry to butt in here. This is Editing Ben again. Joe just mentioned the word focal point. Now, everyone in that's working or volunteering in Bosnia with No Name Kitchen, they all have a role, and everyone has a different role, and each role they're referred to as a focal point, rather than, I don't know, manager or something like that. So yeah,
there wasn't a health focal point available here, and the reason we got put in this project was because we were coming as a pair, my friend Killy and I, but Killy's left now, and there was comms and tracking, so then I went for comms because I feel like I like writing and things.
So there's two things you talked about just there that I'm just going to explain a little bit. Sea-Watch is a sea rescue organisation. They're huge. I've done several interviews with them. People listening can check these show notes, and I'll have links to those. The IWGB is a big union that you talked about. Well, they're quite small, actually. They're activist-led, aren't they, as well? Mm-hmm. I think it stands for Independent Workers of Great Britain, and they're awesome. So the next question. So you mentioned that you wanted to go for the health focal point, but you're working as the comms, the communications focal point. So what I didn't realise before coming here, that there's a group of people here, about 7 or 8 people here, and everyone has a distinct role. I didn't realise that before I came until I read the loads of documents NNK sent me.
Lots and lots.
So the comms role, you have to do something similar to me, I guess. Tell us about your role as the comms focal point.
So for comms, we write articles and Instagram posts as well to kind of shed a light on what's going on here. It's one of the more kind of relaxed roles, I would say, because, I mean, we're supposed to produce an article a week, and also we collaborate with another podcast, and we also have to collect photographs as well, like documenting some things that are going on that can be attached to the articles or the Instagram posts, and also the podcast as well. It has some imagery as well. We can write about whatever we find interesting, but also we should try and keep things as relevant as possible. So sometimes Barbara, who's our head focal point, like she's our reference, she'll come to us and be like, "I've heard about this," or "Journalists are talking about this. Can you shine any more light on it?" Like somebody recently asked her if we'd seen any Chinese people on the move, and I hadn't. And then that afternoon, I met this amazing guy, and because I grew up in Hong Kong as well, from the age of 12 to 18, so I can't speak Cantonese or Mandarin, but I have like a cultural understanding to a degree, and I just got on with him really, really well, and I put him in contact with a journalist in the Netherlands who is Chinese, and she's worked with the BBC before, and she's doing an investigation into Chinese migration in the Balkans. And so she was helping me, I was helping her, and we did this investigation into what happens with the Chinese community who try to go through the Balkan route. And we, for example, we decided to go to the different Chinese shops in Bihać and see if the owners were helping the people on the move at all. And yeah, that's just one example of something we've written about before.
That's really interesting. So has this journalist published what she talked about? She's still working on it.
Yeah.
So I might need to check with her that this is okay.
Yeah. I mean, we published an article with the content that I've said.
Awesome.
But I think she'll be writing something a lot more in depth.
Okay.
And from different places and perspectives. Obviously, we can only talk about Bihać at the moment.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Whew.
Yeah.
I want to keep that in. You mentioned actually before in the previous answer about the politics of NNK, and that matches with you. Can you just, we don't need to go super deep into the politics of it, but one thing I noticed immediately, it's very, I can't think of the word, anti-hierarchical?
Yeah, exactly. We try to operate like a flat hierarchy. I mean, there are people who've been working with NNK for many years, so there are reference points and they have paid roles, but they also often work second jobs and things like that. Everyone in the house here is voluntary, and so people come for a minimum of a month to 3 months, because after 3 months it can be too overwhelming and you can get a really bad burnout. But because we're self-organised within this house, we decide everything with a reference to the people who've been here longer, like who don't live in the house with us, who live in Spain and Croatia and Italy and things. We have a very different relationship to the people on the move than, for example, the other organisations that even exist in Bihać. Like, for example, JRS.
Which is a Jesuit group, right?
Exactly, Jesuit refugee...
Sport?
Yeah. And IPSIA, an Italian one. After their hours stop at like 5 p.m, they're told not to speak to people on the move in the street and things like that, which is so kind of impossible if you live in Bihać. And like in Bihać there's so many people coming and going, and so often even just having a conversation, recognizing that you see them and you know that they're human beings and people, that in itself is like an act of solidarity. Talking to people as people is so invaluable, I think.
The policy that is really interesting, and I like this flat structure. It's really good. It's a good way of doing things, and I always think it's inspiring when you see people organising themselves rather than having a heavy top-down structure.
Yeah,
a flat one is always better.
Yeah, definitely.
So the other thing I wanted to ask was about this. So, can you talk a bit about the situation here in Bihac for people on the move? Or POMS, as I heard you guys call them.
Yeah. So our little acronym for people on the move is POMS. So we say like, oh, have you seen any POMS recently? Or like, how many POMS were pushed back today and things. It's just our quick way of talking. And yeah, it does make me think of like British people in Australia, but not many people, because I'm the only Brit here. Like, I understand that reference. But yeah, Bihać is a hot place for POMs because it's close to the border with Croatia. If you look at it where it's situated on the map, I think it's like 200 kilometers to Slovenia. People don't want to stay in Croatia. They want to get through Croatia and arrive in Slovenia. So people who've been pushed back, they can come back here. And being pushed back is when the police, for example, the Croatian police, although pushbacks happen all over the EU border, as I'm sure the people who listen to your podcast will know, but the Croatian police, in our case, push back people to the border, and then people have to find their way back to either squats, one of the two camps, or to the city of Bihać to live rough, really, to be honest. And we see so many different types of people, like from so many different places, and there's different places for people to stay. For example, we find it's more common that Syrian people live in hotels or houses or apartments, whereas Moroccan and Algerian people, we found it's much less likely that they'll be able to afford renting places. And then in the Lipa camp, which is the camp just for men, which is 7 hours walk or 40-minute drive out of Bihać. That camp has like mostly Syrian people in it, Syrian men, and West African, Sub-Saharan African people there too. And then in the town of Bihać, in the city of Bihać, there's the Borichi camp as well, which has women, children, and families. And yeah, the IOM, the International Organization of Migration, they release statistics about what the demographics are in the camps every week, I believe. So we kind of keep up to date on that, because when we go near the camps, or when we've spoken to people who are in the camps, we don't see a lot of Syrians, who are the majority of the population. I think they keep to themselves in a way.
And I think like when people get pushed back from Croatia to here, like they're sometimes getting beaten or having their clothes removed and this kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
I think I heard you guys talking the other day when you came back from somewhere that someone had their shoes taken or their coats taken or something. Mm-hmm. Is this a common occurrence?
Yeah, the pushbacks from Croatia are really, really violent. We were just with a person recently who was telling us about how when they were pushed back, first of all, the police officer shot into the air 3 times, and then they walked them to a river, or drove, I'm not exactly sure if it was walk or drove, but took them to a river and made them enter the river up to their waists as a deterrent, and then got them to cross the border. And after they were in the river, they beat them on the backs of their legs. And I've heard of many people having their possessions stolen, their money stolen, phones broken, phones stolen, and yeah, just general horrible stuff to deter people from trying to cross again. But so few decide not to try and cross again. That is, my Chinese friend who I met here before, he tried to cross 3 times, and his friend showed me a baton mark on his arm, like a red mark, and also they let like dogs out on them as well.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, luckily the dog didn't bite their skin. The dog only bit their clothing. But also my friend, he made homemade some solar panel charging units, and last time he tried to cross, they stole those units from him and things like that. And he always had a smile on his face and said he was good, even when I asked, like, are you sure you're okay? And thinking, there's a lot of kind of you can't crack, you can't break the face you've decided to put on, because as soon as you break that, like, your soul is just so battered and bruised. And actually, obviously it's very, very different, but as volunteers here, we try to keep strong for each other and for ourselves as well. I mean, we feel very supported, we talk a lot, and we have access to a psychologist whenever we need. Once a week we have our Safe and Sound meeting, which is a space where we can talk about how we've been feeling during the week, because it is really up and down. Like, one day you can hear a testimony from someone and it's so heart-wrenching, and the people we meet, sometimes they're 16, and it's just so heart-wrenching to see people suffer so much.
Yeah, and then it's like, not just here, but people I've met elsewhere, other poems on the move, people on the move, they just seem so determined to, like, they're going to continue, whatever, right? It's like, you're not going to stop it. All the borders in the world are not going to stop these people, right?
Exactly.
We're going to hear more from Joe in part 2 of this episode. But for now, I'm going to give you a little bit more of the backstory. So all this happened back in April. I was staying with the No Name Kitchen activists in the big house that they have in Bihać, which is a small town in Bosnia on the border with Croatia. Each morning, the group would receive messages like the one we're going to hear now.
Hello, sister. How are you? Fine. Sister, please help me. Please help me. Me and my friend, 4 person. I need food. I need bag for sleeping. I need shoes jacket. All sister, please help me. Here problem, big problem, Bihać. No have sleeping, no have money, no have nothing, sister. Please help me.
Jacopo, NNK has been contacted today by a few people on the move. Can you tell us about some of the messages you've received?
Okay, this morning I would start with a guy from Pakistan. He's been here for a few weeks in late March in Bihać. He was living in a squat. And he just contacted us this morning saying that he reached Italy. He's in Brescia now. And just wanted to say thank you to us for what we did for when we helped him. He said you were the only one who came in my hard time. And your support really means a lot to me. And he said, like, you guys are real heroes. And I appreciate and admire your work. I wish you a good luck. And he is now trying to find a job in Italy, and also said that he would like to donate some money that he can earn once he get a job to us for what we are doing here in Bihać. And
That's really. How does it make you? How does it feel when you get messages like this?
it's really nice to keep in touch with people that already reached Italy or Europe, and imagine that they still think about us and appreciate our work in here.
Did you meet this guy? Did you? Or I'm not sure if you personally met him. Did you meet him? This person?
No, I didn't actually. So I would say it's even better to like receive messages from people I didn't even help directly, and it's really emotional maybe.
Yeah, I think it's really good. So I can say it's always nice to get praise. It's always nice when someone says something nice about work you've done. Is there any other messages you can tell us?
I have messages from a woman today. She's in a camp here in Bihać, and she just got pushed back by Croatian police. And she said that she's without food, without clothes, and she's really tired and mentally exhausted. So she also asked for some vitamins to have more energy. She's really, really down at the moment. So I will try to contact her back and try to manage to give her something today.
Okay, and was there anyone else?
Yeah, actually there was also another guy in Italy at the moment, and he's asking for help in Foggia, Puglia. And when we receive messages like this, we try to contact previous NNK volunteers that are in Italy or other NGOs that operate in Italy to try to get people on the move in contact with them to help even in distance if we can.
So there's other solidarity networks.
Yeah.
And it's
we
all
try
working
to.
together.
We
Great.
try to.
Thanks, Jacopo. That was brilliant. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
All right, that was Jacopo talking to us about the various messages they received that morning. On that particular day, Jacopo, who's one of the activists in the house, he was in charge of collating the messages and writing down what people need, and then so later the NNK activists could go out and help people. After receiving the messages every day, usually in the afternoon, the activists would go down to their warehouse in Bihać, grab the things that they need, and then go out and distribute them. Or they use this term distro. So what we're going to hear now is a talk I had with Clara, and she was the logistic focal point at that time. Remember that term, focal point? It's just a term that the NNK activists use rather than using manager or head of. Basically, this is the thing they're supposed to focus on, but they can work in various different roles. It's all part of this non-hierarchical awesomeness to get people to self-organize. Anyway, here's my chat with Clara.
Thanks for talking with me, Clara.
Yeah.
First of all, can you tell us about your background and why you decided to do this? Why would you take time out of your life to do this?
Quite a question. So I've been here before, like 2.5 years ago, and well, if I tell you the whole story, it kind of started way earlier.
Yeah, let's get the whole story. I like
Let's
the
get
whole
the whole
story.
story. Okay, so I was doing a road trip through the Balkans some years ago. I think it was 2019.
Okay.
And I passed by Bihać quite randomly. Like, we didn't have any fixed plans, and we just stopped here for a pizza. And then we went around town, and I saw loads of people like washing and cleaning themselves in the river. apparently people on the move, but I did not know anything about it back then. But that's when I kind of started to research what's going on here. And I think it was really like, it was times when it kind of started here and the city was quite crowded with people on the move, and there wasn't LEAP, but there wasn't any camp infrastructure like there is now. And then later on there were the news like going on about Bosnia and like Lipa camp burning down, and I just kept track with the region and I wanted to do something about it. And then I researched which organizations there are, and luckily I ended up with an NK. It was all really randomly, but I really wanted to do something about it, and I felt like the policies of like Europe and all the asylum system, how it works, and especially border policies, I don't know, I quite felt really ashamed of how things are going and wanted to find a way of doing anything about it.
You wanted to do something, right?
Yeah,
Not just
kind of that. Yeah.
And then, so you came the first time in 2021?
Yes, yeah.
And I think you did the same role, right? Is that time as this time?
Yes, it was named differently, but it like kept the same things. Like, it was warehouse back then, it is logistics now, it involves a bit more now. Like, roles have a bit shifted, the team was bigger back then, but yeah, more or less the same.
So tell us, what do you do as the logistic focal point? I always find that's quite strange, his role is focal point.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you're the logistics focal point.
Yeah. I think it's more focal point because I'm like the person who should be aware of how things are. Like, for example, the warehouse is a big part of it, but it doesn't mean that I'm the only one responsible of making the warehouse work. I'm like more the one who has to be aware things work and make other people do it if they don't do it. So it's more that. So warehouse is a big part. Knowing what there is in the warehouse, what we actually have, keep the numbers up to date. Also knowing if donations are coming, what to be expected.
That car is going to be annoying. I'm going to move it slightly closer. Oh, the car's going. Fantastic. Let's continue. Where were we? What did you say?
Warehouse.
Yes.
Numbers. So also like be aware if we run out of items, to make like the logistic reference aware. For example, if we don't have any more, I don't know, whatever, t-shirts, jumpers. We barely run out of jumpers, but that, be aware of these things. Also food. Like right now we're preparing a bigger order from a shop to get all the food stuffed up in the warehouse. So it's a lot about that, but also logistic involves like all the basic stuff, like making the car work, checking every week if the car is still on, like we use it a lot. So that's really important. And also the basic house things. So whenever we receive visitors, I'm the one who should know about, like, if there's visitors coming and making them aware of our policies. If new people arrive, I should be the one knowing when they come and receiving them from the bus station and giving them an introduction and everything once they arrive to the field.
Okay. And you did that for me, right? You met me at the bus station.
Yeah.
And in your role, are you using Excel spreadsheets a lot, I'm guessing?
Oh, yes.
I can't remember if you showed me. Someone showed me Excel spreadsheets. I can't remember. I hate them. I never use them.
Yeah, I'm kind of a bit nerdy into these things. Yeah. Yeah, there's an Excel spreadsheet for a lot of things. For the warehouse, there's a spreadsheet. Even for visitors, there's a spreadsheet.
Oh, really?
So,
yeah,
there is. Your name will be on an Excel spreadsheet.
Scary. So you're going to show us around the warehouse.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we will do that.
That'll be really nice. Before we end this interview here, can you tell us, is there many, I know a few days ago we went to Lipa.
Hi, this is Editing Ben here, cutting in again. Sorry to keep butting in. Just checking you're paying attention. We're just talking about Lipa Camp. Do you remember? We talked to Ben, I think Jacopo and Joe have both mentioned that in this episode so far. Lipa is one of 2 camps I visited while I was in Bosnia. While I was in Bihać, Lipa Camp was a camp just for men. Like Joe said earlier, it's a 7-hour walk away. And then there was another camp in the town of Bihać called Bihać, and that's where women and families were kept, or they could stay there. Clara and I are going to talk about Lipa just now, and you're going to hear about this later in this episode. Anyway, back to Clara. I'll try not to butt in again.
And we had a really nice moment with people. Can you, I don't know, talk about the experience or your... Have you got any nice experience that you've had with people on the move? A lot of this podcast is always focused on like depression and bad things happening. I don't know, can you give us a ray of sunshine?
Okay, let's do that. Yeah. Actually, like these, we call them parties. They're not actually parties. We just go like near the camps, trying to meet people with cards or games and music. So we would bring blankets, music box, and just try to create a space of fun. And that's also what I really appreciate about that time. I mean, it's also kind of a space where if people want to open up and share their stories, we also do that. But I also really enjoy just hanging out with the people and spending time with them. So like, we've already talked about the football thing, I guess.
Yes,
So I really enjoy that. Like, they were teaching me a lot of tricks. I'm learning things as well. I love learning things. And by now I'm up with 2 football tricks. I hope I can learn more.
You'll be messy very soon.
Let's see how that goes. So yeah, I think that's really nice. And just like, I don't know, kind of forget a bit for a second about all the context around and just be people meeting up and playing football together. Yeah, I think I really like that time.
It was really nice. On the other day when we went to Bihać, it was really nice to hang out and just play football and play basketball with the people on the move. It was just nice to have a normal time rather than like, tell us about your problems and this kind of, although I was asking those questions, but it was nice, I think, for them to just have a moment to like not think about anything. Right?
Yeah. Yes, and also like thinking about the stories they want to share, because I feel like you also need that time with the people if they want to reach out, because some want, some don't, but you need to find the space and time if people want to open up about what's going on. And at the same time, that can also be the place like they get to know us better, and if they feel like they want to talk about things, it can be with like the legal focal point things you're going to interview later, I guess. But also like just sharing their story and having someone acknowledge what they're going through. Yeah, I mean, I'm bringing a bit of shallow again into the sunny situation, but yeah, I think that's important too.
All right, well, thanks, Clara. Shall we go look at the warehouse?
Let's do that. Yes.
Before we went to the warehouse, we had to stop off at the supermarket to grab some supplies for the warehouse. And in there, I decided to interview Anna. Anna's main role was to look after the group's money and the finances while they were volunteering in Bihać. So yeah, here's our conversation in the supermarket. And after that, we're going straight to the warehouse. So, Anna, tell me about your role. Oh no, just tell me first how you got involved in this, or why you got involved in this.
I live in France, and that's where I've participated in some solidarity actions and actions against the borders.
Yeah.
Mostly revolving around squats, and the question of housing is like really important for people on the move because they don't have access to like legal documents and legal housing and stuff like that. And France is sort of the ending point of a lot of the migrant routes. A lot of, like, some people go to England from there, some people go to Spain, but a lot of people stay in France and are kind of stuck there. And I really wanted to like involve myself a bit earlier on the route and see what's actually happening when people try to enter the EU. Because we talk a lot about EU border violence, and it's like my first time actually seeing how it is being deployed like on the outskirts at the very limit.
Because now we're like on the edge of the EU, right?
Yeah.
France is like the heart, so is,
Yes.
well, the UK not anymore, but
Yeah.
it was, yeah. So you wanted to get involved in this kind of solidarity work, see what's happening, and what do you make of it so far? Of the situation for people on the move?
I mean, what we have been told is always quite intense. Like, people get stuck here in Bosnia for like a long time, and they don't have many options. There are not that many routes from Bosnia through Croatia, so you always end up being confronted to border guards and border police, and they're incredibly violent. Like, they destroy belongings, they push you back, and sometimes like make you cross like cold rivers with children. Like, this, some of the worst stories. They beat people up sometimes, or quite often even, and I feel like the worst psychologically, this like state of limbo this creates for people on the move who are stuck in camps that are very policed. Sometimes you cannot, there are curfews in some of the camps, and you cannot like leave after or come back after 4 p.m. and you get stuck there for like weeks trying to cross like 5-6 times, and some people even left Bihać because they get so disappointed and they thought they might try their luck in Sarajevo, like finding some other route, but I'm not sure that works either. so it's kind of depressing. And at the same time, we reach out to people via our Facebook page where like we offer some help and they write to us. And like the past week or like the days where I was in charge of that page, I did receive quite a few stories of people writing to us from Italy or Slovenia or even France, and that was really great. Like to actually see that people have reached like their destinations, and maybe their lives are not going to be easy, probably not, but at least like they've accomplished kind of what they came for, and they did manage to cross and feels less desperate, and actually kind of gives hope.
Yeah, it does. That's good. Hope is what I want in this podcast, and I never get it. And so, yeah, we're in a supermarket, which is a very strange place to be doing an interview, particularly when you're trying to, blend in. So, yeah, tell us about your role. And I think your role is connected to why we're walking around in the supermarket.
So basically we all have there's a basis of common tasks which all of us do, which is participate in distributions and like go around the city and discover where people on the move stay or what they need, and like talk to them, spend time with them. And then there are specific roles which are related to what's called our focal points, and mine is tracking. And what I track is, on the one hand, like expenses, everything related to the budget flows. Like here, like we're thinking of what are we going to purchase in large quantities to make food packs, so people can be autonomous if they cannot cook, and they can have some fruit, some pate, some bread, and things like that.
And the minute we're looking at the tuna, which I personally really dislike.
Some people like it, but we have either tuna or chicken pate, and these are the preferred choices so far. Yeah. And we try to like talk to people before making decisions. Like whatever we buy is based on like previous conversations we've had with different people, and what they say was mostly useful for them. And obviously sometimes people ask for things that we don't have, like for like actual chicken, or like for we don't have actual chicken. That would be very hard to get on a regular basis.
And we're getting stuff that's going to go in the warehouse, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, great. What about? I know you're kind of like the money person as well, right? Everyone seems to go to you to see how much have we got, and you must be deep in the Excel spreadsheets all the time, right?
Yeah, I still don't remember the numbers by heart, and also they change a lot. But as I said, I track budgets and the money flows and what we're buying and how much we're spending mostly, but also how many people we reach out to every week, and we try to compare that to what we estimate to be like the actual number of people in the streets of Bihać, which we don't have access to, but kind of try to find an approximate estimate. And so money is it was tight the past few months because there was a lot of spending, and mostly it's due to like emergencies, like for instance the car breaks down, and that like involves a lot of costs. But this month we've been fine, so that's why we're still taking some money from April to make this big order to store some food in advance, so we don't actually have to waste time the next few weeks completing our orders like little by little.
Great. So it sounds like a really important role. It's one that's absolutely needed, right? And must be quite difficult, I guess. Well, thanks very much for your time, Anna.
Well, thank you for your interest.
So, Clara.
Yeah.
We are in the warehouse.
Exactly.
How big would you say? I think it's a bit longer than a football pitch, maybe.
Yeah, you're right. And like half of us belongs to us, so it's not the whole space that's ours, but half of us definitely is.
Great. And you've got loads of stuff. Like on our right, we've got some boxes and some sacks, and on our left, we've got even more boxes. And each sort of like on our right-hand side here, we've got like maybe 4 shelves, I think, 4 shelves high of wooden things. And there's lots of stacks, right? Lots of sacks in a stack. Let's go over to there.
Okay.
And can you tell us, what are we looking at here? What are all these wonderful sacks?
All right, so these white sacks, what we do when we get donations, there would be like loads of boxes. And sometimes these boxes are quite well labeled. Sometimes it's a bit of surprise boxes, depends on where the donations come from. So what we do then is open all these boxes and really start sorting the items by what they are and the sizes. So we would have an area full of jumpers sorted by size, going from S to XL, we're standing there right in front now. So that helps us, like when we actually start distributing items, to be fast and get the things we need. So shall I tell you about this as well?
Yeah, let's go forward and tell us about... Now, we've got... These are the sacks, and next to the sacks, we've got boxes of jumpers and socks. Yeah, you lead the way. It's your warehouse.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so we're in front of like the area we really use when we come here and prepare ourselves for distributing items for people. So when we want to be quick, this is why there's boxes with labeled items, and once we get like orders from the people who are in need, we just go to these boxes and select whatever they order. Like for example, 1 pants of L, a jumper of M, and maybe a jacket, and we put it all together, and then we have it ready.
I think one of the reasons you need so much stuff, right, is people when they're getting pushed back from Croatia back to Bihac, sometimes they take away their clothes and this kind of thing, right? So there's a need for all this stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, we get lots of requests from people who are in need for shoes or like basic clothes. Exactly. And another thing, when we got donations, a fun story, like we would also sort them by good and bad trash. We like labels for that. I mean, trash is a bit like judgy, but we need to sort the things that are in use for us. Like some donations, we get really funny things like really fancy clothes, or there will be like the good trash that can be used for other purposes but not for ours, and like bad trash things to sort out when they're like broken or dirty clothing. Like we want to really hand out stuff that is still usable for people.
So on this list of good trash, you've got glitter. So you're not handing out clothes of glitter? Why not? Maybe people want to look fabulous.
Maybe they want, yeah.
Inappropriate stuff, you've got sex, drugs, etc.
Yeah.
Maybe that's not a good idea to hand out either.
So that's what the idea of doing that, yeah, exactly.
Great. So what else have we got? We've got loads of clothes.
Yeah.
And on the left-hand side,
yes.
What do we have over there?
I mean, there's also more clothes. Like the ones I showed you yet, is only the men's clothes, since mainly we meet men. But there's some women and some children, so we also have an area for this. But mostly we give like loads of stuff for women and children to other organizations that actually work with them, because we have really more like men reaching out to us. And then there's the area of like basic hygiene stuff and some first aid help to give out to people. So this is like really basic things like soap, razors, for example, toothpaste, everything you need for the daily life as well, to hand out to people if they need it. Yeah.
And I think on the other side of these shelves, there's tents and things, right? So you've got some tents and sleeping bags and roll mats or mattresses, right?
Exactly, also this. Yeah. And like lots of blankets when people stay in the cold. I mean, it's getting warmer again, but like blankets are in big need sometimes as well.
Yeah.
In winter times.
And as you should be able to hear people listening, that it's pissing it down with rain now.
Yes, that's the background noise.
Can you show us the food, the cans food and stuff?
Yeah. So we have different areas of food. Like where we are now is like the basic food to cook, like for people that have some possibility for cooking their food, others don't have. So we have another area of food with like ready to eat things. That could be like a bread, some pate things, fish cans, bananas, apples, things like this. And for food to cook, we've got loads of pasta, still left from a donation from Italy, I guess. Some rice, some tomato cans, beans, also like salt, sugar, tea, flour, oil. So when people ask us to bring things like this, that's what we can offer at the moment. Also, like always depending a bit on what donations we have, and yeah.
So can people donate food, or do you need money to buy the food here, or how does it work with food donations?
For what I know, both things happened. So apparently in the past there was a food donation, but normally we need to buy food, like especially the fresh food, of course, like the fruits and stuff and the bread. We always buy that, and yeah, we try to do. Yeah.
So what kind of things does No Name Kitchen need? Like what kind of items? If people want to donate, what kind of things do you need? So not like glittery clays and that kind of stuff. What do you actually need?
Yeah, like really practical stuff. Like there's always a need for shoes. There's always a need for shoes and backpacks and warm sleeping bags. Also like jackets, jumpers, t-shirts, some basically men's clothes, as I've told you earlier, like most men reach out to us. that's what we're always happy to get and to receive.
Cool. And then how, I don't know if you can say, but how often do you get donations, or does it really just depend?
I think it really depends. I just have like a short time experience here, but I'm speaking with about the head of logistics, and he's arranging all the donations. Like, we have different bases, and he's organizing the donations always, also depending on what base is needing what. So we would also share donations when they come. So like the next truck, I think, is planned to leave some things in Bihać and some other stuff then going further with the truck to Serbia, because they're running out of some other items that we still have stored. So yeah, it really depends. I wouldn't say that there's like a fixed time like when donations come, but I think since I'm here, I mean, there's maybe like twice every second. No, I can't. No, I can't really tell. I can't tell you. No.
It's just kind of random, I guess.
It is kind of random, but not like every week or something. It's like larger episodes of like 3 months. Maybe then a donation comes, maybe not.
And then I also saw you got lots of wood.
Yeah.
What's the wood for?
So there are some people that have access to like stoves or the possibility to make fire. So like especially in winter month when people are outside of camps and they need something to make them warm, we can also offer to bring them wood.
That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And do you know off the top of your head right now how anyone listening can donate to No Name Kitchen, or should I just put a link?
Yeah, maybe it's better to put a link. But I think like most of the donations come from like bigger organizations, sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller organizations that collect like in the countries the donations and then send them out to different organizations. But also sometimes we would have like private donors that offer like some boxes, and we manage to find a way to send a van and to bring it. But yeah, we can find it out.
Well, thanks for showing us around, Clara. Thanks very much.
Yeah, very welcome.
After Clara had showed us around the warehouse, she and I and Jacopo, who we heard from earlier, we got in the car and we distributed some food and some clothes and the things that had been requested that morning. Up next is a conversation I had with them both after we'd been distributing. Okay, so we're in the car now with Jacopo and Clara, and we've just delivered some aid to some people. Maybe can you tell us, what did you think about the situation? What aid did we just deliver?
We just met some people that just got deported, probably yesterday, back to Bosnia. So we brought them some food, some wood, and we might bring them some tents as well, since they're planning, they have no place to stay tonight, so they'll probably just stay in the jungle area.
The jungle. Any idea what that means? Well, this is a term I heard the people on the move use quite a lot. They generally use the term the jungle to mean they're sleeping outside, sleeping rough, generally away from civilization in the middle of nowhere. You might remember the Calais jungle. I used to think that was a dodgy term that English-speaking people had given that place, but I think actually, although I'm not sure about this, it may have been created by the people on the move themselves, because I did hear quite a few people that I spoke to use this term, the jungle, meaning for sleeping outside. Anyway, back to the car.
And one of them was deeply wounded, and we tried to convince him to go to the hospital. Of course, we could pay for the taxi and also for the medical assistance in case. But at the moment he refused to, because he was afraid maybe of having problem with police if he is going to go into the hospital. And so we'll try to stay in contact with them, with this group of Afghani people, and see what happens in the next few days.
Yeah, and also possibly check on the guy tomorrow again, if his wounds, if they seem okay or it's getting worse, just to try and understand how the situation's evolving.
And then we saw some people earlier as well, and I think they were from Algeria, right?
Yeah, we just give them some foods, sleeping bags, backpacks, and we try to also ask for some meetings to talk about the recent pushback they had from Croatia, which was quite violent, and they seemed quite still in the trauma of talking about it. So we will just leave some day pass, and then.
Did you say one of the guys was worried about his mental health?
Yeah, he has also a prescription for some medicines he needs, but he's struggling to find a pharmacy in Bosnia that is willing to give him the medicine he needs.
Why can't we just take the guy with the wound to the hospital?
Because we would have problem with police carrying people on the move in our car, since that could be associated in smuggling activities, which of course is not, because it's just solidarity. But we have so many things we have to keep an eye on to avoid police controls. That is a quite difficult approach to operate and reach people at the moment.
Yeah, it's really sad because if it was one of us that was stabbed and you took us to the hospital, it would be fine, right?
Yeah, of course.
Thanks, Clara and Jacopo, for this conversation. A day or two later, we all went to Lipa camp. Do you remember that? We mentioned it a few times in this episode. Lipa camp is the one that is just only for men. It's about a 7 hours walk away from town in the middle of fucking nowhere. We couldn't actually go inside the Lipa camp because the government only allows official, or what it sees as official organizations, to go inside. So us as No Name Kitchen, who are not recognized as an official organization for whatever reason in Bosnia, we went and hung out. We just went there to chill. We didn't go there to hang out anything, to do any distributions or distros, as the group says. We just went to Lipa to chill and to talk and to show some solidarity with the people on the move. We took with us a guitar, some picnic blankets, some food, a football. Anouk, who we'll hear from later, they bake some amazing cookies. Absolutely amazing. Thank you, Anouk, for those, which we also handed out to the people. It was funny because we were just stood around in the rain for about, I don't know, maybe 2 hours. It was pissing it down. It was freezing. It was April. I thought it would be springtime in Bosnia. At this moment, on this day, it was chucking it down. It was freezing. It was just like being at home. I think around 10 to 15, maybe 20 people came. They were all guys. Most of them were in their early 20s, I think. And there was one guy who we're going to hear from in a moment that was, at a guess, was in his 50s or 60s. I'm not really sure. Anyway, we ate the food, we hung out, we talked. I ended up playing football for quite a while with the group. It was really fun. I also tried to record a couple of interviews there. I always find it a bit of a moral conundrum interviewing people on the move. I really want to know their stories, and I really want the world to hear. I really want people to hear on this podcast, what these people have to say and about this situation, but I'm not sure it's always appropriate. These people might be traumatized, so it's quite difficult to approach people, but I did. I interviewed a few people, and we're going to hear one of those. But yeah, it was quite difficult to record these interviews, not only because it was fucking freezing and some of the guys I interviewed were just wearing flip-flops. Their shoes had been taken away from them by the Croatian police and such. And yeah, we had an obvious language barrier, so we had to use Google Translate on our phones to try to do these interviews. The guy we're going to hear from now, Joe and Clara, really helped me out and pitched in with this interview while we tried to use Google Translate. What we had to do is I would speak my questions in English into the phone, would hand it over to the guy who would speak in Arabic, and then the Google Translate would do its thing and attempt to translate what he said. It didn't always work, as you'll hear in this interview. I think other journalists might have cut this interview out, but I want to keep it in. I want you to hear what it was like to try to talk to people, what it's like for the activists trying to communicate with the people on the move. Anyway, here's the interview that we did at Lipa Camp. Enjoy.
Oh, it's cold.
What? First, it would be good to know, how long have you been in Lipa?
Three months? 3 months? You've been there for 3 months? How is your life inside the camp?
How is life inside the camp? Did you see that?
Good. Come good.
You can speak Arabic.
الكامب الموظفين كلهم محترمين ما في أي مشكلة
How many employees are all respectful? All of them are respectful. There is no problem.
All of them
There
are
is
respectful.
No problem.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Very good. Good. How long ago did you leave Iraq?
أنا غادرت العراق منذ سنة وشهرين
I left Iraq 1 year and 2 months ago. Ah, it's a long time. And where are you?
شيعة مؤمن
But the Shia tried to shoot you. You are Sunni? Sunni. And a Shia tried to shoot you. That is terrible. That's terrible.
أنا كنت موظف بالعراق هددوني بالقتل الشيعة هددوني ورحت اشتكيت بالمخفر بالمركز شرطة قالوا هذا لا حكومة مشتكي ما نقدر نسوي لهم عمل.
What do you read it, Joe?
Okay. I was an employee in Iraq. They threatened to kill me. The Shia threatened me. I complained to the police station. He said that I am a government complainant and we cannot do anything for them.
Okay, so something with the government. The government couldn't help, and the Shia tried to kill him. Maybe it was a Shia militia, I guess.
Yeah.
وإنما إحنا أقليات إحنا تركمانية يسمونا أقليات إحنا بالعراق ليس لدينا أي حقوق للأقليات الحقوق للشيعة السنة والأكراد أما إن الصوابين والمسيح والتركمان ليس لديهم أي حقوق.
I'm really bad at reading. Honestly.
But we are minorities. We are Turkmen. They call it less. I mean, we in Iraq do not have any rights. We do not have any rights. Minorities have rights of the Shiites, Sunnis and Kurds. Drivers, Christians and Turkmens do not have any rights. Okay. You are Turkmen? Turkmen. Ministry of Oil. So he's showing me a card right now that says Ministry of Oil and North Gas Company. So I think he was he worked for the government in the oil as well.
What was your role in the oil company?
أنا كنت هناك شو اسمه بنا بويلرات ليس بنا بناء وأنا بنا بويلرات.
I was there, what is called construction, and I built boilers. So you're a boiler maker.
Wow. Was it very physically challenging?
No.
No.
Is it
Okay.
easy, Joe?
No.
Good.
Do you think? I'd like to know, but I don't want to re-traumatize it. But how? I would like to know where he came, like his journey.
Yeah.
You think that's okay? Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah?
I think he's relaxed. Can you tell us about your route from Iraq? Which way did you come?
تركيا
Turkey,
يونان
Yunnan,
مقدونيا
Macedonia,
صربيا
Serbia,
بوسنيا.
and Bosnia. So maybe Turkey, Greece, Serbia, maybe.
Yeah.
Yunnan, I don't know what that is.
يونان تركيا يونان
Maybe.
تركيا تركيا يونان مقدونيا صربيا بوسنيا.
Greece, yeah, you're right.
Turkey, Greece, Macedonia, and Serbia. And shall we ask if he was experienced violence along the way?
I mean, I think.
I mean, he'd probably take it for given, can't
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
And I can ask this, which is kind of a hard question, but which country was the hardest to enter?
يونان
Greece.
يونان
Did you come on the boat?
يونان صربيا مقدونيا no problem بس يونان
You
No
know,
good.
it's difficult.
Croatia. You know Croatia?
It's terrible. You tried to go to Croatia?
Sorry.
How many times?
Sorry. Wrong language.
How many times have you tried to go to Croatia? Four times.
4 times.
4 times. Okay. And then, should we ask if he was pushed back and what happened? Or I could just say, tell us about that.
Can you tell us about your experience of trying to go to Croatia?
Sorry.
No problem.
No problem.
Sorry.
مرتين حاولت مع المهرب مرتين ومرتين GPS. حاولت انكمشنا بالطريق.
When did you try with the smuggler twice?
Okay, I think he's saying he tried with the smugglers twice and twice by himself with GPS.
To shrink down the road.
I tried to shrink down the road, maybe hide down the road. Yeah, okay. Let's,
Croatia police, big problem.
Police.
مشكلة, right?
مشكلة police.
no, I think we have some other friends here.
Oh my god.
تعالوا.
Are your friends?
We need
Your friends are coming? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, now my legs are soaking. So we hung out in that field near Lipa camp for a few hours in the pissing rain. It was freezing, but it was a great time. It was so good to talk to the people there, to hear their stories, and just hang out with them and let them know that not all Europeans will treat them like shit. Anyway, on the way back, after we'd spent time at Lipa, all of us got in the car, and I switched on my microphone and I interviewed them. I wanted to know how they felt about what we were doing there. And yeah, you're going to hear that now. There's 2 voices in this next interview that you've not heard before. One is Alberto. He's an Italian guy. It's pretty obvious who he is when he starts speaking. He's the health focal point. We'll hear from him in part 2. And we'll also hear from Anouk. Anouk has been mentioned in this episode, but we've not heard their voice yet. We'll hear their voice in this next section. And you can identify their voice by their German accent. And we'll also hear more from Anouk in part 2. Okay, we're recording. We're in the car. We've just been stood in the rain for, I don't know, about an hour?
An hour, more or less.
An hour?
more 2 hours.
Maybe 2 hours?
Yeah.
Would anyone like to talk about what we were just doing? And I think it's something you do every week. But yeah, did anyone want to talk about it? Don't shout at once.
I mean, personally, I just spent the 2 hours wondering who made the decision to throw a party in the middle of the rain. I still don't have my answer.
And where have we been? Where have we just been? Can anyone tell us?
We went to Lipa, to the camp, which is outside of Bihać, and it's like a 6-hour walk. And we went there with the car to spend some time with the guys.
Like outside of the camp. We meet them right in the middle of nowhere.
In the middle of nowhere.
Spend some time together.
So we were in the middle of nowhere and we were talking to Poms, people on the move. And what kind of things did we bring? Someone made some really nice cookies. Yeah. Did anyone have any interesting conversations with anyone that they want to share?
I did not have conversations. I learned new football tricks because you don't need language barriers. Like, you don't need language for that. And I had quite a fun time still trying to improve my football skills. That was really cool.
Bye. Bye. Can anyone say anything about the importance of what you were just doing? I think it's really important for the people on the move to have a time to not think about the shit situation that they're in. Do you think that's what the point of the Lipa party is?
Definitely. I think, although we did talk about some heavy things, like most of the time we were just sharing music, playing football, showing photos of like where people have come from and talking about different cities, and it just gives a space away from Lipa, which is quite like a pretty oppressive environment for the people staying there.
Yeah, I think so.
But
Yeah.
I also think for us it's really important to spend some like social time with the guy and to don't just give out clothes and to just don't meet them at the distro and also like in social spaces and to know them in a better way.
Why do you think that's important? Not to just hand clothes and like it's kind of like being a charity, I suppose. What do you think is important about this social space?
I feel like I do this work because like I'm really interested into the personal stories of different people, and also like part of the story is where did people come from, why did the people left the country or the city, and also what's like their dream or what do they want to find in Europe.
Well, that was really great. I hope this interview works. I hope this sounds good because I really enjoyed that. All right, thanks a lot, everyone. Cheers.
Okay, ciao.
Okay, that's it for episode 58, part 1. Stay tuned for episode 2, where we'll hear more from Joe, Clara, Anna, and Jacopo. We'll also finally have interviews with Anouk and Alberto. And of course, we will hear a lot more from people on the move. I hope you liked this episode, and let me know what you think. Share it around, give us a rating and that kind of stuff. It would really help. As usual, I'll remind you that the Silver Fleet is not just a podcast, it's also a news blog with reports, investigative stories, and interviews. We've recently published an amazing story by Hannah Gillett, who's a freelance writer who pitched a story to us. She's written an interview with US-based activists who are trying to identify people at the US border with Mexico. So go check that out. We've also got an exclusive story that I worked on about the number of deaths in UK asylum seeker accommodation. It's not a nice read, but I think it's quite important. Anyway, if you like what the Silver Fleet is doing and you would like to help us to continue to do the work that we're doing, then you can do that by making a small donation at the following websites. You can go to ko-fi.com/silverfleet. That's ko-fi.com/silverfleet. It's Ko-fi, and you can donate the cost of a coffee, or I know, Ferrari or something if you like, or the cost of my planes to Bosnia if you like. You can make a donation there, and that will help us to continue to platform the activists, lawyers, campaigners, the journalists, the refugees, and the general legends that we have had on this podcast. If you like our grassroots journalism, you'd like to keep us independent and keep going forward, then you can help there. Anyway, part 2 of this episode will be out very soon. Until then, see ya.